So I'm starting the next one.
Good stuff.
Yeah, so the Azure DNS. So what is the use of the DNS in your normal infrastructure?
Well, it
Resolution.
holds.
Resolves IP addresses to names, host names.
Correct. So it just resolves the IP address to host name and host name to IP addresses. And apart from that, it also helps you to define the services. Like when you try to log in, how do you know that to which domain controller I need to get in touch? So all these service records and a lot of different type of records are created into your DNS. So similar type of setup has been created in Azure also. So Azure provides, there are two type of DNS which is provided by DNS by Azure. One is the public DNS, and second one is your internal DNS. So internal, I mean basically it's private DNS, which you can configure all your internal resources, whichever you have configured for just to have the name resolution through the name of the virtual machine rather than the IP address. So all these things we will be configuring. So in this lab and in this exercise. So domains and custom domains. So normally, whenever you configure your Azure account, you will find there is a directory configured there. If you can see my account, I have a default directory, and my default directory domain name is barimctoutlook.onmicrosoft.com. So whatever account I will create, that will be like uh, @barimctoutlook.onmicrosoft.com, which is not a user-friendly name. So just to figure it out, what we normally do, we use the custom domain. We purchase any domain from the registrar, either GoDaddy or BigRock or any other service providers from where you can buy the domain. Earlier, Azure doesn't provide that functionality, but now Azure provides that you can buy the domain also from Azure console, and you can put it in the auto renewal. At the back end, it uses the GoDaddy account. So if I go here in the Active Directory section, I can see custom domain. Here, custom domain name. So here you see your domain name is this. So if you create any account here, you will always find that domain name will come into the along with that. Suppose I'm creating a user one. So like this, or any normal user, just I'm creating. So you can see, so it is picking up the whole domain name. So just to figure it out, this issue that I want to use my own custom domain, you can do it through the Active Directory. And similarly for the computers, you can use the custom DNS. So when you create an Azure subscription, an Azure AD domain is created for you. The domain has initial domain name in the form of domain name .onmicrosoft.com. So our account was barimct@outlook.com. So what it created, barimctoutlook.onmicrosoft.com. So you can create a new directory where you can use your custom, or you can use existing domain also in your existing Active Directory. So after the custom name is added, it must be verified. So whenever you will configure a new domain, then you have to prove your identity, like I am the owner of that domain. Then after that, you will be able to configure it. So normally there are multiple methods to configure or to prove your identity. One of them is text record. Second one is MX record. So whatever identity you are getting here, you will have to create this record in your registrar first, and after certain time, like normally it takes 1 to 2 hours to update that entire record, and then you will have to verify, and that also depends that where exactly your DNS record is created, because if it is across the globe, then it will take some more time now, and all the different registrar has different TTL values. For example, if I talk about Big Rock, they provide 2 hours of TTL. And if you go with GoDaddy, they provide 1 hour TTL. So you can see here is the TTL value is 3600. It's a second. So you have to configure these settings into your registrar, and once you configure that, you have to wait for some time, and after that you have to verify, and once you are verified successfully, then you will be able to use your custom domain, which is used here like contosogold.com, and then you will be further use that domain for all the user creation and all the resource creation into your Active Directory. So now, but we will talk about the zone. So there are two type of zone. One is private zone and one is public zone. So public zone is basically nothing. It just represents that all your internet based, if you have any registrar and you want to publish all your records, manage all your records from your Azure console, then you will be using that DNS. Else, normally you don't need it because you are already having registrar already provides you a console where you can create all the records. For example, I have a domain. Let me show you. Big Rock in. So here I have a domain, this one, azureadda.tech. So if you go there, you already have the entire suite of information through which you can manage all your resource and all your records. So from here, manage DNS, you will see another console. If I want to create some, suppose www.azure.tech or webmail something or any record, then you can create all your A records here. This is a complete separate thing. And for example, I don't want to go to my this console every time, and I want to use my Azure DNS to manage my resource records. How would I do that? So in that case, you need to create the same name. Suppose if whatever domain I have used here, I need to use the same domain name in my Azure console, and then I will be mapping that with this external registrar, and I will create all those records in my Azure console, and everything will be working over the internet. So DNS zone hosts the DNS records for a domain. So whatever records you have, normally every company has www, webmail, SMTP, POP. There are so many different services, whatever applications they are configuring or they are using. So according to that, they configure the DNS. Where multiple zones share the same name, each instance is assigned different name servers. So you can create different zones. Even Azure gives you the flexibility that you can have the same name. It doesn't give you an error. You just need to put the same name. Like suppose I am creating Azure Cloud, Azure Adda.tech in private, and I want to create it in the public. So it is possible. It will not say that no, this domain already exists or it is already used by someone else. You won't get that error message. It will be created. So it's just that your utilization, you have to plan that how do you want to use it. But it is always better to use one DNS for all the purposes rather than multiple, because if you have multiple DNS zones, then it will be confusing for you that where exactly I need to create the records. So one for public and one for private. That's the best way to configure them. And in this DNS zone, you will be getting the option to create a different type of records which you normally use on the registrar console. The same set of things you will be able to configure in your Azure console as well. And one record set can have maximum 20 entries. It means 20 records you can create, and that is basically works in a order. Like if one fails, then second fails, then third. So that's how it will actually try to resolve the name. And a record set cannot contain two identical records. It means if I have created www.contoso1.com and again I will try to configure www.contoso1.com, it is not possible. So you have to, your name should be always different from the one record set. You can change the records also. Like it's not like suppose I have given initially 3 entries and later on I have 2 more entries, then I can add it later on. And if I need to remove something, then I can do it. So DNS delegation. DNS delegation is basically you are authorizing a DNS to work on the registrar's behalf. So by default, whenever you are going to my registrar is if I talk about this, and then my name servers are ns1 dns1.bigrock.in, dns2, dns3, dns4. So these are my 4 different name server records. So if I want to manage the Azure based DNS through this with the help of this domain, then what I need to do is I have to update the name servers detail in this one. So what will happen whenever anybody will trigger that this Azure adda.tech domain, so here the request will come to this registrar and we'll try to find out that who are the name servers. So the name servers are mentioned in Azure. So those requests will be redirected to the Azure based DNS where all these records are available. So whenever you will create any zone, so these 4 records are created and all these 4 records must be mapped with your registrar DNS. Then only your DNS delegation will work. So once the DNS zone is created, update the parent registrar. So you have to go to your parent registrar and you have to copy each and every information from here and then update it into the registrar site. And for child domain, for child zones, register the NS records in the parent domain. So you have to update on the parent domain also all your for the child zones if you have any. So DNS for private domains. So since Azure provides you the automatic DNS, I mean their own internal DNS, whenever you create any VM, you will see the DNS detail is automated by Azure. If you go to the virtual machine, you can go here and networking, go to the Ethernet card, and here you see DNS service. So if you see, inherit from the virtual network, and virtual network is picking up the DNS from the Azure. Go to virtual network and go to DNS servers. Here, Azure provided DNS I'm using as of now. So all the things are controlled by Azure and you don't have access on that particular DNS zone. So if you want to map all these records, all these host record into a particular DNS, then in that case, your private zone is required. So if you are pinging one host in the same VNet to this one, then it will go to the Azure DNS and then it will respond you. Suppose this request goes to db.contoso.local. So it will respond the IP address, whatever it has in their record, and then your request will flow to the destination VM. So use your own custom domain name, whatever name you want to use for name resolution, you can use it, and provide name resolution for VMs within a VNet between VNets also. So it's up to you because you have to bind those services with your DNS. So whatever network you will bind with your DNS, then all the servers will, all the resources in that particular VNet will be mapped into that Azure DNS. So automatic host name records management. If any host comes into that network, that will be created. If any server is demoted or deleted, then the record will automatically disappear from that DNS management console. So use all common DNS record types like normal records. What are the normal records? A record, CNAME record, 4 times A record. So all these are the different text record you can create into that DNS console also, and it is available in all Azure regions. Basically, it is not dependent on any region. It's a global service. So you don't need to specify any particular resource group that on this location only it should be available. So you can just, whenever you will create, you will see it is a global identity. So private zone here, you can see the vm2.contoso.com. It will first target to this Azure DNS, and it will have all the list of the servers, whatever available in this particular VNet. And if the requests are coming from this different VNet, then also their records will also be available here. So it will be the name resolution will happen across the VNets. So different VNets they will be able to resolve without any issue. So DNS resolution in VNet 1 is private and not accessible from the internet. So these are not accessible because this is a private, and there is another one which is a public. So it's a complete segregation from the private and public. DNS queries across the virtual networks are resolved. So if you want to try to like NS lookup this VM from here, it will work fine because this one is available there to help you out, and it will report you that okay, this is the VM. And reverse DNS queries are scoped in the same virtual network, but reverse lookup zone only works on the same VNet. It doesn't work across the different VNets. So these are the things that you can configure. We will be configuring both the type of different zones, and then we will set up a VM and to register the record into the DNS. So let's go to the console. Here you just try to find out DNS. So here you see DNS zone and private DNS zone. So this one is used for public and this one is used for the internal communication. So let's go to the DNS. First, let's create the public one. Let me create one resource group. I'm creating a DNS. You can put it any location. That's not a problem. I'm putting it Azure .tech. So review plus create. All right, so our DNS zone is ready. So let's go to all the resources. Here you can see this one is my DNS zone, and it is a global location. It's not located to a particular region. So, but you will definitely keep it into a resource group which is bound to a location, but this particular object is not in reserved for one location. So if you go there, you will see there are multiple name servers which is assigned to these servers. So what I need to do is I need to copy all these 4 records and configure into this domain in the GoDaddy or in any whatever domain you are using, you will be using there, you can configure it. So, and after that, if I create any record set, for example, suppose www, and then I map any public IP, then that IP will be accessed and that this URL will be accessible over the internet. So it would take some time. You have to let me make the changes. I can show you. So this is so name servers. I think it's already updated here. NS1-02. Not here. NS1. Okay. Here. And there is an extra dot in Azure console which you need to remove. If you don't remove it, it will not work. So I'm just removing all of them, and then I will add the one which is the second one. Copy, paste it here. Third one. And fourth one. So I have updated the name servers. It will take around 2 hours to update that. And after that, I will configure a web server here with the www, and that URL will be accessed with www.azure.adda.tech. So this is how you can configure the public DNS zone. And if you want to configure a private DNS zone, then you can go there, private DNS zones. You'll create private DNS zone. And I will create into a separate resource group. I'm just choosing the same location, East US. I can put the same name. That's not a problem. So here you go. Review plus create. Okay, so here it is created. When you go to that zone, you will see all the records are here, but there is no any name servers. It means this is a private DNS zone. And whenever you will register any of the VM, you will create any VM, all those records will be created here. But you have to map the virtual network with this particular DNS. So I will first map the network, add. So East US. So enable auto registration. It means that any VM will be created and that will automatically get registered in this particular DNS. So after this one, let's create a new VM with on that same network. Yeah, so link is in progress. It will take some time. So now let's go to this console and create a new one more VM into the East US region. VM1 and East US. So let's create 2016. Next. All right, so okay, so your VM is created. Now let's go to the DNS console. This is my Azure Adda.tech, and I can see here my two VMs are registered. So 0.4 and 0.7. So it is automatically picking up all the server name. And now if I try to log in into that VM, go to the VMs This one is my new VM. So let's check. The first VM is east US-VM dot Azure Adda dot tech. It's resolving or not. And let's look up east US-VM dot. Here you go. It's resolving through the name and IP. So you can just NS lookup 10.0.0.4. So it's also giving you reverse is not working here. East US VM internal, it's going to that. Look up East U. What's the name? Host name. NS lookup East US VM1 dot. Yeah, so it's non-thread DNS is coming from this one. So at this point of time, you can reach out through the name and you can take the RDP from the name. If I take the RDP of the internal host, so mstsc east US VM dot. Here I'm able to take the RDP via name.
Should that
So
be
this is-
VM1? Sorry, is it East US VM1 or is it East US VM?
Yeah,
He's on.
there are two VMs I have created.
Okay, apologies.
Yeah, and both the VMs are having the same network. So if you go to the
Okay.
network and both the VMs are configured in the same
Yeah.
resource,
Resource
here's the
group.
VM.
Yeah.
So they are automatically registered in the DNS private DNS zones.
Okay.
So their records automatically got created. So if you decommission the server and after some time, it will automatically disappear from here also. So it's complete. Here it is auto registered. If you want to manual registration, then you can also create the host record directly from here. It's your choice. Suppose I'm just east US VM2. I want to create 10.0.0.100. So you can create it. I just created a random. So here you see it's not auto generated. It's a manual thing. It will remain forever. So you have to be careful what you are auto registering and what you are manually doing. So this is how your Azure private zone works, and public zone will take some time. So maybe at the end, if time allows me, I will show you by configuring a website and then showing you resolving the name through the public internet. All right, any questions, any confusion?
Nope. Oh, crack on, please.
So view your host name and test resolution. Everything is working fine on that. Then lesson 4. This is the last lesson for this topic.